Okay, we're going to start looking at annotative text now. We're going to use this one from the previous exercise. I have got a drawing here which I have pre-made. It's basically a civil double drawing. We've got some footing designs here. Okay, basically when you're dimensioning or writing text in model space and you're doing something at 1:1, it's all fine, it's all good. If we have a look at our dimension styles and text styles, for example, well, here we'll have 2.5 millimeters, it will come out just right. And similarly with the dimension style, going to the modify under text, we say it should be 2.5 millimeters, it'll be fine. So if I close this here now, supposedly I have had something here which was very small. I was going to draw it at 1:1. Here's a little column. I want to dimension that column at 1:1. So I'm going to do a little drawing at 1:1 of that column. I dimension this, I click that, I go here and I go there, and there it is. So at 1:1 is quite legible, that text, it'll be okay. But if I wanted to dimension something that's a bit bigger than one, that I can't fit on an A4 or an A3 drawing, such as this 15-meter house, I have to probably draw that house at 1:100, which means reduce the scale of the real size scale by 100 times. Now you can imagine if we had a dimension on here, so this dimension here, that's already, well, it's okay at 1:1. If you zoom in here, all the arrow sizes are 3 millimeters. The text over here somewhere, we lost it, somewhere in the middle. It's somewhere in here. The text at 2.5 millimeters is fine. If I could print this house at 1:1 on a huge sheet, I'll be able to read that text, right? But the fact is, we've got to scale the house down. And if we did scale the house down, because when you plot, you actually are able to say I want to scale 1:100, okay, from model space. In color space we just do 1:1. That's another reason for that. Okay, so basically we're assuming that the whole thing's scaling down by 100, which means this 2.5 millimeter text will be 100 times smaller than what it is now. So it'd be, what, 0.25, no way you can read that. So what we do, we compensate for that in model space, and we say, well, okay, no worries, it's going to be scaled down 100 times, I know that already, I decided that, therefore I'll make my text 100 times bigger to start with. So you say, well, I'll make my text 250 millimeters high, and then when it's all scaled down by 100 times, that text will be reduced down. As well as I've got distance from here to there, that's 160, that will also be reduced down in width. That will turn out to be at 1.6 millimeters wide. It's a little rebate, basically a brick width. And in fact, we can read that on normal floor plans. You get 3 millimeter wide for 300 walls. That's fine. Okay, so what we're trying to do is achieve this text to be 2.5 millimeters. So what we do generally, we will go in here, or even if you're just writing text here, you go here and just type in 250. But say in dimension style, instead of putting in, if I modify this, instead of leaving that at 2.5, well, you do actually, you leave that at 2.5, but you say here, I want to use an overall scale of 100. And what that does, let's do that, next time I put a dimension, or in fact it's already changed all of them because they're using the same dimension style. It's already increased it by 100 times for me. Right? So now, if I print this at 1:100, it'll be legible. If I reduce it down, it'll be fine. Which is fine, but then if I want to do this detail up here at 1:10, it means I have to create another dimension style, so I really have to come in here and I have to do a new one based on that one and call it AS1100-1:10. The other one I have to rename 1:100. So you end up with all these dimension styles in there, which is a bit of a problem. You have to keep switching from one to the other. There is a simpler system that Autodesk has come up with a few years back, in released 2008, and that's to use Annotative. annotative dimensioning and text. How do we do that? Let me just cancel that and go back to this one here. Well, your standard one that you've been creating so far can easily be modified and become annotative. So this one now is not annotative. This one here is, you can see it's got a little symbol next to it, and so is this one here. Alright. So if I go to modify, first thing I'll do is go to fit and click this button here, which is annotative. Alright. Simple as that. Our text is still 2.5 millimeters, which is fine. So if I go OK now, and we close this, it's got a little symbol next to it. Right, so if we go OK and close. Okay, we'll go back here now. Now, a couple other things before we go on. A must-haves in a drawing set is this, and I'll type it in, MSLT scale, okay, which is different to the LT scale. Just write MSLT in my capitals, MSLT scale, so you can read it. Enter. That should be set to 1. The PSLT scale should also be set to 1. Right? And then basically good to go. The other thing, LT scale should also be set to 1. Set all those three to 1, and then you're ready to roll. Now, normally this thing down here is set 1:1. And if I just regenerate RE now, my lines are not looking right now because my lines are visualized for a scale 1:1 down here. That's what I told it to use. So it's not going to, they're not going to look right for 1:100. So that MSLT scale we set to 1 before, what we have done by doing that, we have made our LT scale annotative or annotative or scale aware basically. If I go that 1:100 and I regenerate now, it will come up how it will look when it's printed. Right? But having said that, if I go up here, I've just basically wrecked the scale for my 1:10 detail. You know, so if I want to see what that would look like for 1:10, I'll put this 1:10, I RE for regenerate, and now those line types are right, but these ones are wrong. Right? So you can see here now it's going to be difficult to print a 1:10 and a 1:100 next to each other. It's not really possible in model space. So we do that in paper space. So the PSLT scale set to 1 is what takes care of all those line types. So they turn out just perfect for the 1:10 right next to the 1:100 on your sheet. Right? So that's why we need those two set up like that. The LT scale set to 1, it just simplifies everything really. You'd be mucking around with 0.25 and everything else. It just works out. So, so that's all we need. Okay, so we've got all that set up. So now I'll just erase this thing here. Now I will just set as normal, I will set dimension layer if I've got one here. Here we go, dimensions. Alright, so basically that's not right. So I've got to be careful because now I've got my dimensions set to, and you have to select it from here. That's set to annotative. I've got to be careful what scale I'm in down here because if I start dimensioning now, I'm dimensioning at 1:10. So that text is still too small. So I've got to erase that. I've got to make sure this is set to 1:100. Now if I do that, there's my dimension there. Perfect. Alright. And with the same dimension style, I'll swap this over to 1:10. And I can go up, well, we can actually do, we might want to do a little detail here actually. Of that, here's a little detail, a plan detail of that. So I can dimension this now. So well, that from there to there is 260, and from there to there, whatever it is, 600, right? So that's 1:10. This is that one there. So if I say, well, I want another dimension 1:100, it's quite easy. I can go here, change that to 1:100, go up here and put another one, say, from here to there, just to see what that offset is, and place that at the end of that, so it's lining up. So there it is, perfect. All right, so I'm not too worried about the line type scale being regenerated in model. It'll work out alright in paper space. When I'm swapping around, it's just important that this is the right thing. What happens if I want to show up a dimension, so this 600 one, for both 1:100 and also 1:10? Well, what I can do is click here, right click, and go to properties. And you find now here, we've got annotative, yes, and we can have it so that it's annotative scale is 10. I can have it so that if I click there, click on this button, I can add 1:100, okay there. Right, so now it's 1:100 as well. So if I go okay, it's both. So that there now, if I just close that, if I go to 1:10, 1:10, we can visualize the 1:10. But if I go to 1:100, the 1:10 turns off. And the 1:100 comes up. That doesn't look really nice actually. So you might want to rearrange stuff. Bring that up, leave a bit of room for this one here. So see, when I click on it, it actually has a ghosting of the 1:10 there as well. It's dual scale, this one. So I can move it from where because I'm in 1:100 now. When I'm moving, I'm actually moving the 1:100. Yeah, where there, sorry. Okay, there it is. And this text here, it might be better off here, or you might want to bring it out there. Okay, so for the 1:100, it's going to look like that. For the 1:10, it's going to look like, where's it? I can't even see it. I lost 1:10 already. Alright, so it's going to look like that. They won't be there. It's only when you've got joules that it turns off the 1:100. When it's not dual identity as such, or more, you have more than two, it just leaves the other ones there. Now the other thing it does here with the annotative text, I didn't have to put this text in a dimension layer called dimension 100, and I didn't have to put this in dimension 10 layer, because normally these would be conflicting with each other, so you want to switch them off in the viewport. Alright, so I'm ready now to do my viewports, so I'll do that. I haven't done any textures yet. For example, I'll just quickly show you how to do the text. The text is just a matter of going here and saying I want annotative. Alright, so let's put the little star dropper there next to it. Notice here, height, 0. Click here now, paper text height equals 0. So you would be asking you what the paper text height is, rather than what text height do you want it. So I don't have to actually tell it it's 2.5 times 100, 250. I'll tell it 2.5, and it will work it out by whatever I've got down here. So if I want to write down here as 1:100, I want to write a piece of text, and I'll make it multi-line text. I'll go here. Alright, 2.5 millimeters is what we want. No, we might make it 5 plotted. And we'll write something here, slab. Okay, slab, red slab. And there's my slab there. And if I measure this, it should be about 500 millimeters in height. And let's see. Okay, well no, that's wrong, because that says 245. Looks a bit small, so just stop that. Okay, delete that. I'll continue with that in a minute, and we'll sort that out in a second. So, time.